All right, Frank. So let's go ahead and get another round in here of the Improving Capital podcast here. We've gotten some really good
Or we
feedback.
can optimize risk.
One of the two. One of the two. We've gotten some really good feedback in some of the previous videos and content, and so we wanted to keep this process moving forward. Wanted to spend a little bit of extra time today focused on maybe the optimizing risk piece, and really kind of dive into the insurance marketplace, if you will.
Absolutely.
So one of the things, and I know we posted an article last week on our social media on this front, but you're hearing a lot of talk about a hard market and a hard market compared to the soft market, what it's doing to, the insurance premium and the trends they're seeing out there. So maybe we start today here, Frank, just talking a little bit about the hard market. And maybe if you don't mind, let's just kind of dumb it down a little. Like, what is a hard market compared to a soft market? What is this conversation?
Yeah, thanks, Zach. I think it's very important right now that we talk about what a hard market is. And if you look at the market outlook in 2023, the number one thing that we have seen and that we're told from the marketplace is you have to have a proactive approach. So when you look at a hard market, which we're in, right, you're going to have stronger underwriting procedures. You're going to have rate increases. You're going to have they're going to take a magnifying glass and look a little closer at someone's risk. But a couple things that are really, which is unique, I want to call out. So right now in this market that we're in, this hard market, there's basically three main coverages that they're going to look at. And I'll talk in a minute about some of the potential increases in rates. But you have commercial property, you have cyber, and you have auto. Okay. So like I said, a soft market is more a buyer's market, which we're not in. We're in that hard market, right? That's that seller's market. So you want to really look at some of the ways you approach your business, and also get it way out in front of this, right? I know a lot of people, they look at the renewal maybe 30, 60 days ahead of time. You probably want to be 60, 90, maybe 120. And here's some of the things you want to look at. Here's some of the key factors. So what is it? Here's some of the key factors you want to look at. The type of coverages. Do you have any specialty coverages that you're seeking? Right? The size of your business. Now, we met with a company just a couple of weeks ago that they grew over the pandemic, and they didn't even mean to grow. Right? So they have no idea what the renewal is going to look like because of the growth of their business, but then it's going to fall back again. And then you got the industry, whatever industry, and maybe you've changed a little bit as far as the industries. Maybe it's location. Another very important thing that we all talk about is claims and some of those risk mitigation or risk management practices. So let's slow it down and let's talk a little bit about how could this affect you from a number standpoint. So when you look
and let me jump in here too, Frank. Like, not only from a numbers perspective, but if I'm a business owner, right? Like, hit me with the hard truth, right? You just kind of alluded to the fact that you're seeing premiums rise, you're seeing some of the changes in coverages. Like, from a numbers perspective, what's it going to mean to me? And then more so, like, what do I? Because again, if I own a business, I don't have a lot of control over some of these factors.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good point. So, like to Zach's point, when you look at maybe 5 or 6 lines of coverage. I'll talk a little bit about some of these numbers that you should be expecting, that if you don't do anything, this is probably how it's going to hit you from a premium standpoint. And you're going to be kind of ticked off. And by the time you contact a new agent, it might be a little too late. So when you look at commercial property, depending on where you're at, if you have cat exposures, what we're seeing is anywhere from 10 to 25% increase on your commercial property.
It's a nice chunk.
That's a nice chunk. Now, when you look at the GL, that's not so bad. You're looking at 0 to 10%. When you look at commercial auto, that's another one people are getting dinged on. We're seeing up to 15% increases. When you look at work comp, this is why I get excited, because having a work comp background, if you really do a good job with the workers' compensation, we're actually seeing some reductions there, some up to 5%. So if you're really diligent looking at maybe not just 3 years, but 5 years and running that experience modification factor analysis, there's ways to get different types of discounts. And if you put in certain protocols in place, you can actually get a reduction on your work comp. Now, the big one, Zach, is cyber. We're seeing anywhere from a 25% increase up to 100% increase. So can you imagine if someone's paying, let's just call it $20,000 on their cyber, and next thing you know, they're paying 40, 50, 100.
Yeah. And it sounds crazy, but it's real. Like, it's happening. I mean, we have these conversations, and again, it puts a business owner in a tough spot, right? Well, we understand what's going on with the economy too, and potential recession, and there's a lot of moving pieces to this, right? So going back into kind of solution mode, if you will, right? Like, all right, we know what's going on with the market. There's a lot of chaos. There's a lot of big numbers if I'm seeing those premiums continue to rise, what can I do as a business owner? Like, how can I attack this situation and
Yeah.
try and put myself in the best position I can moving forward?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would go back. I know it sounds cliche, but go back to the 7 habits. The first thing you got to be is proactive,
Mhm.
right? And number 2 is you have to have the end in mind. Now, I want to point out something before I get into some of these, these solutions. Look at your total insured values. What we're seeing is 75% of risks are underinsured by about 40% because they've had lazy agents over a period of time. And then some of the issues that you're going to see that's going to affect your exposures are labor shortages and supply chain shortages. So those are huge. But let's talk about some of the solutions. Okay. So here's some of the solutions. You want to start your renewal early. Like I said earlier, 60, 90, even 120 days, right? Look at some of your risk management techniques, loss control procedures. The third thing is, I would say is, when you say this acronym or this word BCP, a lot of people don't know what it means, but I would actually encourage you, we can help you at iCOR, is to look at business continuity planning. What about the unknowns and the what ifs? You can put a plan together for that and strategize around that. The other thing is address some of those wrecks that you got from your carriers in the past. I know, being on both sides of the house, sometimes you get that recommendation from the carriers and you blow it off because you're too busy. You got to pay attention to that, and you have to communicate that back to the carriers that you're addressing these. And then the last thing I would say, and we can go deeper and get some more details. The last thing I would say is really look at whether your agent's on fee or commission, right? Because that's going to determine if someone's on commission, which we're finding is probably 98% of agencies that we run into from
the vast majority. Absolutely.
They're on commission. They don't necessarily mind if they get an increase or if you get an increase because they're going to get a raise. So I would tell you to net out some of that commission. And I did a talk several months ago on the dirty little secrets of insurance, because you can act like if you're doing business continuity planning, you're given some risk management techniques and procedures. You can actually scope out that work that you're going to do for your client. That's very important.
Yeah. So if I'm hearing it right, Frank, it sounds like the big takeaways again. If I'm a business owner and again, a lot of you are seeing your renewals come through, they're seeing the premiums increase, and there's a little bit of a hopeless frustration at times because again, a lot of what's driving the hard market stuff that's outside of any one of our controls. Right. But it's more about how do we look at this to be, you said, be proactive, right? Look at things early and start to question things, dive into components, have these conversations and discussions with individuals to look at say, hey, how do we set up our organization from a risk management perspective to maybe at least be able to combat some of these hard market situations? You're probably not going to beat every single one of them, right? The cyber market, it's a great example of that. But if we're positioning ourselves the right way, right, we're having the right conversations, we're putting the right strategies in place, right, we're often finding that those organizations are more equipped and better prepared to handle these hard market type situations.
Absolutely. So I'll wrap up with this. If you look behind us there, we're in a hard market, but it's really unique because it's not 100% hard market. I would say about 30% of the market, as far as your risk exposures when it comes to insurance, is hard. So understand that, right? Pinpoint what some of those exposures are and what those cost drivers are. Right? Identify some of those loss control best practices. Create a solid business continuity plan, okay? And build your company's safety culture. That is huge right now. And then the last thing is you got to figure out how to manage your claims efficiently. And I would encourage you at iCOR, we actually have a claims advocate. I would encourage you to take it off some of the carrier's plate and manage it from an agency standpoint. And if you do those things, we're confident you're going to go into this renewal with a strategic approach, which has a better outcome.
Perfect. Awesome. Thanks, Frank.